Good evening, everyone. This is John Rollins, and it's Wednesday, so it is. I'm here for our weekly Strive session. Well, I'm here for our Strive session. We wanted to be weekly, but that's not always the case. Strive stands for Strategies to Remain Informed, Victorious, and Empowered. Strategies to remain informed, victorious, and empowered. I pray that you've had a great couple of weeks. Last week we were not able to be here because as I got ready to sign on, my computer started updating, and so probably about 45 minutes later, it said, "Okay, now you can go and do what you want to do. Go ahead." So I hope that you had a good time anyway, and hopefully we can make up for it with some information that we share with you on today. All right, strive, strategies to remain informed, victorious, and empowered. So our thought for today, of course, is, and you may have seen it, is neighborhood watch. Neighborhood watch. And I was thinking, and I mean, those who know me, you know, I've had a few birthdays. I had a few revolutions around the sun, and it's been okay. I've enjoyed it. Okay, I have a visitor who's trying to photobomb my session, but when I grew up, I think neighborhood watch then is different than what we think of when we say neighborhood watch now. I grew up in a small community called Copeland, and a lot of you all may know this. Okay, but in Copeland, I don't think there was an official neighborhood watch, but everyone in the community was part of the neighborhood watch. Do y'all remember during the presidential debate when there was a fly that was attached to part of those discussions? I have a fly that's trying to photobomb or video bomb me. Okay, but when I grew up, everyone was a part of the neighborhood watch. My parents were the individuals who, if somebody needed a ride home, we were going, they would give us a ride home, or they would give us a ride there, and we got rides from everybody else. I remember when we were my first fishing trip, my very first fishing trip was from one of the neighbors in the community. He took his family, and I was able to go along with us, and we went to over there in Nunes Lake at Windsor, and I caught my very first fish there. And then we were able to catch rides to and from church. We would walk from church. We had Miss Glasper that lived next. She worked at the store next door to us, and everybody there was a part of the proverbial village. They looked out for each other. Now, neighborhood watch, not in a nosy way, at least not that I was aware of. I was a child, but I don't think it was an issue of people being nosy or busybody or trying to get in other people's business. That was not my version. That was not how it appeared to me. But the people there genuinely cared about each other. I was born to a midwife. One of the neighborhood ladies helped deliver me. Okay, I was not necessarily adopted, literally. But I remember Mother Patrick. For whatever reason, she took a liking to me. So every year on my birthday, she would bake me a cake. And I know that other people in the neighborhood, they did that for each other. And I think we were a close-knit community. I still have friends today from our time. And my parents still live out in the same community. Many of the people that I grew up with, those who are still with us today, we go out to them and we laugh as if we didn't miss a beat. Okay, neighborhood watch. I attended a funeral maybe 3 years ago, and I heard someone make a statement, and it, for whatever reason, it's like a light bulb went off within me, and the statement is that we don't have a neighborhood anymore. What we have more now, people want to be a part of the hood. I'm from the hood. I represent my area. Okay, we have a hood but we don't have necessarily a neighborhood. People don't put forth as much effort, based on my experience, and that maybe it's me, maybe I'm the antisocial one. I don't think that I am, but I don't believe that we put forth the same type of effort today that we used to put forth raising our neighbors. It was okay from my parents' perspective if one of the neighbors corrected me and my siblings and I. If we did something that we needed to be corrected, my parents didn't mind our neighbors correcting us. But I don't know if we can say that today. In fact, people almost challenge you to almost dare you. And if I'm making generalizations and you've not found this to be your story, your case, then I'm okay with that. Okay. But what I see now is people, they take their neighbors to court because the dog may be in the yard and the dog may mess up the yard and mess up the flowers, and yeah, we have to be responsible for our property, and the dogs, if that's a part of the family or the property, depending on how the law interprets it, we have to be responsible for them, and so we can't let them just run and destroy everything else. But there was a time when people would have a civil discussion over a disagreement, and it didn't always end up civil. I mean, there were times when people disagreed, and so there may have been yelling, and there may have been some fighting. Okay, but things are different now than they were then. You all are familiar with the statement. It takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. And I think a lot of where I'm going with now is we are in a unique time, and I know I'm telling you something that you already know, but I want to say it, and I want to try to bring a point to it. Okay, we're living in a unique time when we have to be careful who we allow to watch our children, because many of the people, how we were raised, it may differ from the way that they were raised with regards to morals. I know that I can speak about John better than I can speak about anyone else. I would never encourage a neighbor's child to do something that was illegal or immoral. I wouldn't do that. But I know that there are some neighbors who they want to be the cool neighbor. They want all the neighborhood kids to like them and feel like they can connect with them. And so they will turn the other eye, turn the eye the other way, turn the head away from behavior that is not in the best interest of the child. In fact, they may encourage the child to do stuff that's not in the best interest of the child. In fact, they may model behavior that actually damages the child, creates trauma for the child. That the neighborhood is missing the neighbor. And so we can have a hood watch, but we need a neighborhood watch. I remember reading from this book, and you all know when I talk about this book, you know I'm talking about the Holy Bible. I'm talking about the scriptures. I remember when someone went to Christ and asked Christ, what is the greatest commandment? And Christ said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, body, strength. And I paraphrased. He said, that's the greatest commandment. And then he said, the second one is like it unto it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then the person asked a follow-up question, I guess because maybe they were looking to justify themselves. Well, who is my neighbor? And Christ told a story, and you all may be familiar with the story. He told the story of a man that was going from one town to another, and while he was on his trip, he was robbed and beaten and left for dead. And he said that 3 people came by, and 2 of those individuals, people who you thought would be the person who would care enough to act, they actually avoided. They went to the other side to make sure that they didn't participate in the well-being of that individual, the care, the concern for that individual. It was a person who they least expected to participate in helping that individual with his recovery, helping him with his deliverance, helping secure him, helping to cover him financially. It was somebody that you would not have expected. Okay, the neighbor is the person who is actually contributing to the well-being of the hood. Okay. We have many people who are in the neighborhood, but their actions, their behaviors, their contributions are to the detriment of that community. And please, if this sounds like I'm being judgmental, that's not my intent. Okay, but if I am a homeowner and if I care about my neighborhood, I'm going to take certain steps to make sure that my home does not detract from the neighborhood. I'm going to make sure that my car doesn't detract from the neighborhood. And I'm not talking about just keeping up with the Joneses. I'm talking about taking pride in my part of our community. I'm talking about watching out for my neighbors to make sure that whatever happens to their property, that if I am able to contribute to it, to its adding value to it, I do what I can to protect. I do what I can to watch out for the hood. Why? Because I am operating in that love that Christ spoke of. No, that may not be my brother, that may not be my sister, it may not be a close relative, but that's someone who I love. That's someone who I use this phrase often. I said, the person has value. And how do I know that? Because if Christ thought enough of that individual, and we have record where it shows, but if Christ thought enough of that individual to sacrifice his life, that person has value. My neighbor, whether I know them personally or not, my neighbor has value. So who is your neighbor? The person that you come in contact with. Your neighbor could be someone who you've met for the very first time. Okay, and I'll say this: every friend that I have today, I met them for the first time at one time, and because we met, and because we were respectful of each other, because we were considerate of each other, we are no longer strangers. We're friends. Okay, neighbor in the hood. We're going to watch out for each other. Because this is my closing thought. Christ was talking to his disciples, and he said, I'm going away. I'm going to leave you. Okay, but don't be upset about it. Don't be troubled, because I'm coming back. I'm going to come and get you again. He said, I'm going to prepare a place so that where I am, you can be with me. And so there's going to come a time when all of us are going to, when I say all of us, but when those who are the believers, the body of Christ, we're all going to be in the same neighborhood. Okay, and everybody may not look like everybody else. Everybody may not speak like everybody else. Everybody may not have had the same experiences. Okay, but we have one thing in common, and that's that this fly keeps bombing my thing. We have one thing in common, is that we have the same spiritual Father. Okay, and so we are not only neighbors, but we're brothers and sisters. All right. I hope that made sense. And love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. Take care of the people around you. Take care of the people who's crossed your path. Watch out for the good. Look out for the good for others. There's this idea that we prefer others above ourselves. And you say, John, man, that's difficult. I know. It's not the easiest thing to do. But I believe there's tremendous value. If everybody adopted the mindset that I'm going to prefer the needs of others, I'm not going to be selfish, self-seeking. I believe we adopted that mindset where I love my neighbor. I do good unto my neighbor. as I would want my neighbor to do it to me, I think we'll have a better society. All right. All right. This is John with the Strive Session, talking about Neighborhood Watch. All right. Strategies to remain informed, victorious, and empowered. And I close the way that I love to close. You are important. You have value. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you look like. I don't care the mistakes that you made or did not make, the choices that you made, did not make. It does not detract from your value. You are important, and don't you ever forget it. All right. Hey, y'all be blessed. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye.